Bible of Marvolo, translated from the Marvelov Vulgate, diligently compared with the Hesbianese, Greece and other editions in diverse languages. Doyamum version 1609-1582. Book of Sire Nigel. Chapter 1. It was evening in the city of Yorkshire, when a series of mangled arms had been turning up all over the swamps of Yorkshire, and the inhabitants were scared. 10 murders in 10 weeks, all committed with a gruesome stench, and still nobody had a clue who the killer was. Sire Nigel Jr. was a tall lord and quencher of Her Majesty's thirst, with a fondness for writing. He didn't know it yet, but he was the only one who could stop the killer of Yorkshire and put his crimes to an end. When his fond Maiden of York was kidnapped, Sire Jr. found himself thrown into the centre of the investigation. His only clue is a hard brick which landed through the Maiden's door. Quickly, he enlisted the help of a smart factory worker who goes by the name of Senior Lord Sire Master Batin. Sire Nigel and Senior Lord Master Batin grew close together, bonding over their similar beliefs of the murderer's ways. 40 days and 40 nights had passed since Sire Nigel and Senior Lord Master Batin last met. The search for the Maiden of York was considered a lost hope by most in the city of York. The community grew quiet and gloomy, with most falling into a slight depressed state of reality. This impacted Sir Nigel in a heavy negative way. He had become but a mere shell of himself as more and more people disappeared. Chapter 2. On a dark evening, Sire Nigel was strolling down the streets of York when he was abruptly stopped by an old beggar who seemed to be injured. Sire Nigel was surprised by this, as he had not expected to be spoken upon by a person of this class. Although he was surprised by this, he grew even more shocked at the fact that this beggar was not a beggar, but a faceless figure of darkness. Quickly, the beggar warned Sire Nigel that he needed to advance into the Lord's garden and inspect the nearest cherry blossom tree. So, in an instant, and without questioning the mythical being, Sire Nigel was off to the Lord's garden. After arriving and finding the tree quickly, Sire Nigel noticed a stream of green fog leaking out of the hollow forming in the bark. He moved closer to acquire a closer look. As Sire advanced closer and closer to the tree, Sire quickly discovered that this was not a strange fog, but rather a depiction of a face. It was God. Sire Nigel held his ground, trying with all his might not to call for the mighty Kensington Guards. God told Sire Nigel, "Be still, boy, and listen." Sire Nigel obeyed the command. "Now," said God, "I have a task for you, my boy. You shall capture the slick rapscallion and bring him to his judgment." God spoke more of the matter, even telling Sire where to find the killer. And so, once morning rose, Sire Nigel was off to capture the swamp killer. Chapter 3. Sire marched down the streets with confidence. In a way, the crowded streets had an idea of where Nigel was going. The sense of passion for the mission was rising with every step. And before Sire knew it, he was already minutes away from the bastardly rapscallion's hiding spot. Sire was upon him. The killer looked back at Sire with a face of worry and shock. He knew his fate. Sire looked into the killer's stained eyes as he forced his dagger into the killer's leg. But suddenly, before Sire could finish him off, the mythic Sire Marvolo appeared out of the hedge from his place of viewing. "Stop this," Sire Marvolo said. Sire Nigel looked at Sire Marvolo as the killer laid bleeding profusely on the ground. Sire Marvolo preached forth, "The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven. Upon the place beneath, it is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. 'Tis mightiest in the mightiest. It becomes the throned monarch better than his crown. His sceptre shows the force of temporal power, the attribute to awe and majesty, wherein doth sit the dread and fear of kings. But mercy is above this sceptred sway. It is enthroned in the hearts of kings. It is an attribute to God himself, and earthly power doth then show likest gods when mercy seasons justice. Therefore, though justice be thy plea, consider this, that during justice none of us should see salvation. We do pray for mercy, and that same prayer doth teach us all to render. No, stated Sire Nigel. Nigel ended the killer's life then and there by forcing his dagger through the killer's heart, as the killed gasped in agony. 2 days later, Sire Nigel was celebrated for his deed to society as he was gifted Her Majesty's finest galleon, the HMS Epstein's Island. Sire Nigel was proud as he boarded his own, yes, his very own prized vessel, in the name of Her Majesty. Chapter 4. The junior lord that everybody had once known was now a pristine and honourable lord and duke. Sire Nigel's new title was Sire Aidan Nigel the 19th, Senior Lord of Canterbury and Duke of York, apprentice overseer of the Yorktown shipping yard. Finally, Sir Nigel felt accomplished with himself and aspired to keep the peace in York, swearing to himself that he would keep the way of play alive forever.